Hey everybody, I'm JJ Johnson. You're watching Reality Survival. So just a real quick look, had some folks asking to see an update on the range. So this is what we have got so far. Would probably be good enough for a close pistol range, but I want to dig it out more. I want to get it deeper, have it go back up into the hill a little bit more. And then that'll be a 50-meter rifle range for us. So we're gonna try to do that. Anyway, that's not what today's video is about, though. Today's video is going to be about urban survival tip for what do you do if you get kidnapped. And we're just gonna talk about some of those things. So stick with me. It's a little bit cold out here today, so we are gonna go on inside. Okay guys, so we are inside. It's a little more reasonable temperature. I think the wind chill outside today was half a degree. So anyhow, we want to talk about urban survival tips. Essentially what this is kind of focusing on is what to do if you're taken hostage, if you're kidnapped, if you're unlawfully detained. Maybe you're traveling to a foreign area and you've never been to before. Maybe you're going to Europe or South America or something along those lines. Or perhaps you're in a dystopian future where, there's been economic collapse or something like that, and tyrannical government has taken over or something along those lines, So let's go ahead and get into this. I've got a few notes here, basically 10 kind of important points on what to do if you were kidnapped. The first thing is prevention, and that is that you need to know your environment before you go there. Spend some time doing some research. Take a look at the state.travel.gov, I think it is. They have the travel warnings for each different country if you go someplace else. You can take a look at those. Those give you some good insights into what's going on there, and that kind of thing. If there's any major conflicts, what the big kind of criminal threats are, and those kinds of things. CIA World Factbook is also another good resource. And I think the other one is FAS.org also has some good intelligence, information for traveling about and stuff like that. If you guys know any other good resources for finding out about other places, stick those in the comments below. We'd really appreciate it. Okay, the next thing, so doing research before you go is the first one. Second one is gather some intel while you're on the ground. And this can be for if you're traveling, or if you are, maybe you're just moved, maybe you're in a refugee kind of status where you're having to move from one place to another. Maybe you're going into a new town because you want to trade some goods or something like that, or maybe you're just traveling, like I said, somewhere else. Talk to people who know the local area very well. Be a heavy tipper. Maybe talk to your hotel concierge, talk to your taxi drivers, your waiters, etc. Ask them about safe places to avoid, who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, how do you identify the bad guys, those kinds of things. Compare what each one of those people tell you to the information that you gathered, beforehand, and that should start to develop a truthful picture of the environment so that you're a little bit more situationally aware of what's going on. And speaking of situational awareness, that is number 3. When you're out, when you finally decide to move, to go into the city, to go wherever you're going, you want to use situational awareness. Now, I've talked about this in a couple of different videos. Transitions are the key elements. I'll put a link to a video in the description that I did on this, talking about how to maintain situational awareness when you're traveling and moving and all those kinds of things. And then using the, taking a peek each time that you enter a new establishment, where you look at the patrons, the employees, the exits, places for cover and concealment, and then the killers, the people who you think could be potential killers in the area. Just sort of a little acronym, to help you go through a checklist when you go into a new environment. So those kind of things, those top 3 things right there are gonna probably help to avoid a whole lot of bad situations. All right. The other thing is, number 4 here is, if possible, you want to be armed. All right. And if you're in this country, then hopefully you'll be able to have a firearm if you don't live in a communist state. But if you can't have a firearm, then there are other types of weapons that you can have, maybe brass knuckles, pepper spray, whatever the case may be. I've talked a little bit about secondary weapons and stuff like that before. I'll also link that in the description below. Ideally, you want to be armed. And here's the thing. At the outset of violence, you want to fight with as much overwhelming violence as possible, as quickly as possible, to try to disrupt any kind of plan that had been laid in place to take you. Okay, you want to be the honey badger. You want to fight as hard and fast as you can, as quick as you can, and you want to be vicious at this point. Now, number 5. As soon as you realize that the situation is unwinnable, because that's ultimately what we're talking about here, is a hostage situation where you are going to be taken. As soon as you realize it's unwinnable, you want to feign an injury, and maybe make a punch to the gut if a guy's hitting you or something, make it seem bigger and more impactful than it really was. But you want to feign an injury and then start to be cooperative. And a lot of people might initially look at this and say, why would you want to do that? The thing is that if you resist a lot at this point, after the initial fight is over, then they're going to guard you more closely. They're going to make sure that you're tied up better. They're going to put, more restraints on you, those kinds of things. They may even incapacitate you or knock you out, break a limb or something along those lines to keep you more incapacitated. And the thing is that if that happens, that is going to hinder your next moves for escape. So you want to try to maintain your physical fitness and your ability to be able to run in the next several steps that we talk about here. So that's why as soon as you realize it's an unwinnable situation and you're not getting away, you want to cooperate, potentially feign an injury or something along those lines. Let them know, hey, you got me, okay? I'm giving up. I'm not going to do anything else. Here's my weapon, whatever the case may be. And hopefully that will at least lower their threshold for how they're going to treat you, how they're going to process you, and those kind of things. They think, okay, we got him, he's not going to be a problem. If you're continually fighting the whole way, it's not going to lower it, and you've got very little opportunity for escape because they're going to be watching you so much closer. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If not, you can put some questions, down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer those. All right, number 6, just a little bit of information here. There's generally speaking, there's going to be 3 to 5 phases of detainment. The first is going to be your initial capture, which is what we were just talking about. Then you're going to have your initial transport. They're going to be moving you to the first location they take you, and that'll be your initial detention area. It's possible that could be your final detention area, depending on who this group is, what the case, what the situation is. We're generically speaking about these things in very general terms, but it's pretty likely that, especially if it's a terrorist group or any kind of a foreign police establishment or something along those lines, that you'll probably have a secondary transport and then a final detention center. If it's a terrorist group or somebody who's kidnapping for money or something like that, you may find yourself being moved more frequently. So that does give you some additional opportunities. But ultimately, what you need to know about this, and I guess this is kind of my 7th point here, is that the initial detention or transport phase is going to be your best and most likely places to escape. Okay, ideally you want to try to make your first escape attempt before you arrive at your initial detention facility. Once they process you and they thoroughly search you and all those kinds of things, then that's going to make it more difficult for you to escape. Just a rough field a field search is probably not going to find hidden handcuff keys, hidden razor blades, whatever the case may be, if you have prepared yourself in that way. So you may be able to use these items a little bit quicker, and in order to help you escape. Let's see here. So the further along that you get in these stages, the more difficult it is going to be to escape. Now, that doesn't mean it's impossible, because it's definitely not, but especially with hostage takers, kidnappers, unorganized criminals, those kinds of things, even untrained, foreign police, groups and that kind of stuff, those kinds of personnel are going to be less organized in the initial phases of these things, unless it's something that they do all the time. So those are probably going to be your best areas for escape. And you guys can take a look at the videos I did. This is my 8th point on here, is take a look at the videos I did on escaping zip ties, escaping duct tape, how to escape handcuffs, those kind of videos. I'll throw some links on those down in the description below as well. Knowing how to do some of those things is good, especially if you might find yourself in this kind of a situation. Okay, so number 9 is that although it is possible that the captors could shoot you at any point, obviously you don't know what's in their mind, what they're going to do, and those kinds of things, but it is very likely that they wanted you alive for a purpose. Maybe that's going to be to ransom you, maybe it's going to be to use you as a sex slave or for prisoner exchange, whatever the case may be. But my point here is that if you see an opportunity to escape, or if you create an opportunity to escape, if you get out of your restraints, maybe you've been put into the back of a vehicle or something along those lines, and you can get out, then you want to absolutely take that opportunity and do that as soon as possible. So the next thing here, this is kind of the last major point, is immediately try to move as fast as possible and evade out of the area. Try not to run in open areas. Don't run in, necessarily in straight lines. Try to use cover and concealment. Move from one point to the next using cover and concealment. Stay in low-lying areas. Try to, maybe stay out of populated areas if that's possible, depending on where you are. But you want to try to move at least a mile or two before stopping and making a plan on how to continue. The reason I say you want to move at least a mile or two is you want to try to get outside of that initial cordon zone where the captors may try to spread out and search for you. 1 whole square mile, as a radius, if it goes out, is a large area to cover. If you can get 2 miles or so before you really stop, and as fast as possible get that couple miles, then you're probably going to be outside of their initial cordon zone. Again, all just depends on the situation, how many troops there are, what, all different kinds of variables that are coming into this situation. But these are all just kind of generalities. Okay, so that has been my top 10 tips, urban survival tips for what to do if you're taken hostage or kidnapped, and kind of how you deal with that initial situation to get you away from them. So this isn't necessarily talking about the escape techniques. Like I said, I've done some other videos on how to break out from restraints and all those kind of things. You can see those in the video below. As always, guys, I definitely appreciate it when you click the thumbs up button, when you share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. Let's see, I also appreciate the folks who've been using the Amazon link. It's just amazon.com/shop/reality survival. And if you go through that store, you can search whatever you want on Amazon, and you buy any of those things, or you go through that link, that takes you to my store. You don't have to necessarily buy anything from the store, but if you just go into Amazon, buy whatever it is you're going to need, then that helps give us a little bit of credit, and it doesn't cost you anything more. So I totally appreciate that. I have been populating the store with a lot more items. Hopefully you guys may find some of those things useful. I try to only put items in there that I've either used, that I own, that I've reviewed, or that I know are really good products. So that is that. If you think this this little hoodie sweatshirt is cool, head on over to victos.com. I have a couple of different coats and some gloves and stuff from them that they sent out that I'll be reviewing in some videos here pretty soon. They are a pro Second Amendment company, and I always like to try to help, you know, pro Second Amendment companies as much as I can. So you'll see a couple of videos coming out on those pretty soon. We also will be taking a look at the S1 baton, the mini baton, this little guy here. And we will also be looking at the, what is this one? The M2R Warrior. This thing is awesome. It's like 1500 lumens, really great light. It's rechargeable. I don't know if I can't quite get it up there where you can see it, but it's got a magnetic rechargeable base, which is kind of nice. What else do we have? Let's see. We've got this. This is actually I didn't think I was gonna like this very much. It's called the Aquabot, and it's a pressurized Nalgene container is what it is. It's got a pump in it, and it's actually pretty useful. I could see where you could use this thing in any kind of a grid down situation where you don't have water pressure and all that kind of stuff. It might be pretty handy. So we'll look at that as well. And we've got a battle box coming up to look at, and I also recently got a ATN X-Sight 2 night scope that I will hopefully be reviewing pretty soon as well. So we got a lot of stuff in the works, and I will hopefully be putting out videos more often. I took a little bit of a break to chill with the family and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, don't forget to live the 6 P's. Prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe, guys. We'll see you in another video here real soon.